Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is a little over a week since Nova, so it is definitely time to do a video recapping. I needed a little bit of recovery time. Oh my gosh, my voice was shot, first of all, after talking loudly in a dry convention hall over 500 other nerds for the whole weekend. And I was just, I don't know. I'm not sure if I was just exhausted afterwards or picked up a little bit of a bug and was a little sick, but I was just dead for like a week after Nova. It was bad. But I'm recovered now. I mostly remember what happened. I have a few notes. So I'll go over my games. I have pictures. Again, I always take a lot of pictures game 1, and by game 5 I don't remember to take any. So you'll just have to deal with it. And if you're listening to audio only, it doesn't matter anyway. I am remembering to share my screen this time, unlike my Summer Slaughter recap, which I think I didn't. Oh no, it wasn't the Slaughter recap, it was the Nova preview. I forgot to share my screen the whole time. So confirmed, you can see this. You can see the Nova open. Just to go over the basics. If you haven't been to Nova, it's an awesome convention. It happens in DC every year, which is confusing because it's named Nova, but I believe it actually used to be in Northern Virginia. It is now in DC, at the DC Hilton. It's, I don't know if it's considered DuPont Circle or Adams Morgan, but it's a fun neighborhood. So lots of places to eat around there, go out, drink and socialize. I took the train down from Baltimore to Union Station and then the metro over to DuPont Circle, and I walked up to the hotel, so it was nice to be able to get there on public transportation and not have to drive and pay $90 for parking or whatever for 3 days like last year. So yeah, that was good. It's probably a couple thousand people there in total. I don't know the exact count, but there's people playing games over a bunch of different game systems. There's Capital Palette, which is one of the biggest painting competitions in the U.S., in the country. So all sorts of things going on. There was not a GW preview this year. I feel like in past years there's been a Nova preview show. Maybe I'm hallucinating that. I don't know, but nothing like that this year. There was an evening with GW event that I didn't go to. I think it was on Thursday, and I was in a painting class. So yeah, my Nova, I meant to just do painting classes all weekend and not even play AOS actually. Or maybe just playing the RTT or whatever, but do a painting focused Nova. And unfortunately, because of the ticket website crash debacle when the tickets first opened up, I was on the ball the first time tickets were available and was ready to buy. I had my list of which classes I wanted to take and stuff. And the website crashed, so I didn't buy any tickets then. And then when it reopened, I had an alarm. It went off. I was like, oh, I'll do it later. I was hanging out with people, and I didn't get to it till 8 hours later. And of course, all the classes with most of the classes with famous people were filled up. So I got one class in on Thursday with Christoph, which was fun. But yeah, didn't do the whole weekend. So that at that point I didn't get into all the painting classes I wanted. Sorry, I see my audio levels here a little loud. At that point I was like, well, I might as well play in the AOS tournament. Why wouldn't I at that point? So yeah, for the AOS GT, Nova's a little different. It's 8 games for the full tournament, but after 5, it's kind of a natural place where a lot of people drop, including me. Every year I've played, and then after 5 games, after everybody who wants to drop drops, the top 8, so all the 5-0s and the top 4 ones, get split into their own 8-person pod to play a bracket to determine the winner. And then all the rest of the 4-1s are a pod, all the 3-2s are a pod, all the 2-3s are a pod. So basically for your last 3 games, you're playing people who performed similarly over the first 5. So, hopefully your last 3 games are competitive and pretty close, because there's a wide range of skill level and experience of people that play at Nova. I said this in my preview video, like a lot of people, this is maybe like the one GT they go out to for the year. And then you have people like Fabian and Jeremy, and Dylan traveling from further in the Northeast to go to tons of tournaments. Matt Beasley was here from the Northwest. So there's people who go to a lot of tournaments, very good players, like top tier players who fly in as well. That does make, so like, spoiler alert, I went 4-1 in my first 5 games. It does make what am I trying to say? Sorry. It does make it so that there's like very much an opportunity for a path in your first 5 games to like avoid, playing one of those, top 5, top 8 players in your first 5 games. And then, you'll probably end up playing, you'll end up playing in them in the pods if you like do very well in your 5-0 or one of the top 4 ones. But like, there are paths to playing some more casual people, even if you're doing well, that sort of thing. This is not disparaging anybody who's not, on the Worlds team or go 5-0 at tournaments every weekend or whatever. Just saying, it's kind of that kind of tournament. There's like a big spread. No matter your experience level, you're gonna be able to get into some competitive games like over the weekend. But you also might play somebody who's a little more experienced and maybe a little out of your league and learn some things, which I very much still experience sometimes. So there were 116 people, I think. This says 123, but I know some people dropped. So it ended up around like 110, 115. Day 1, you can see, so it's Friday to Sunday. So Friday there were 3 games. Saturday there were 3 games. And between 5 and 6 is that kind of natural dropping point. And then day 3 was 7 and 8. They did a thing where basically they picked missions for each day where they were all basically compatible with the same terrain layout. But that did lead to a couple weird things. For example, in round 5, for example, it was Noxious Nexus. So it's the one where you're both deploying on only one half of the board, essentially. And since we were using the Roiling Roots terrain layout for all of day 2, that meant that only one person then would like have a place of power in their deployment zone, because in that layout, the places of power, in the deployment zones are in opposite corners, but you're both only deploying on one side. So the roll-off actually kind of mattered more than usual to determine if you got like the woods in your deployment zone or if you got the place of power in your deployment zone, which is obviously not quite the way that Noxious Nexus is supposed to be played, but it did make the role for attacker defender interesting, and it made it an interesting choice as to whether you wanted like the woods or the place of power. Just to know, it mostly worked fine. That was the only game it ended up that I played being a little weird. I didn't play the last 3. I will note so let's see, the timing on this, the new Feck and Night Haunt books were releasing like that weekend, so they weren't legal yet. It is annoying when this happens where like the app will update before the tournament, but the new rules in the app are not legal, so it's kind of hard to access your old rules that you're playing with. For me, that only affected like the Ucheron War Scroll, which I had played at Slaughter. I had enough games that I had the different, I knew what the differences were between the old and the new War Scroll, so like it wasn't a problem, but it's very frustrating when that happens. And it's, tournament organizers are kind of between a rock and a hard place. Like you don't want to play your tournament the day that the new rules are out with the new rules, but yeah, it just makes it a little bit of a mess. The other thing, so like new KO and new Corn were legal. They did have a little bit of an FAQ, mostly just addressing rules questions for KO and Corn, not like, it wasn't like a balance patch FAQ. Like they didn't, this was the original rules for the Army of Renown, for example, for Khorne. Like they didn't arbitrarily knock it to a 5 award or something for the tournament. I think they did FAQ it so that the stand-up only happens once for each model. So that is a little bit of a balance thing, but was also, maybe kind of clearly an oversight in the rules. But the thing they did do to rein in the Khorne Army of Renown is they were strict on proxies. So I know like there was somebody apparently who wanted to just play 10 Slaves of Darkness Chosen as 10 Deathbringers, and we're told no. I think 5 or 6 people's requests to proxy somewhat silly things were turned down. So that was kind of how they were tamping down on the Khorne AOR stuff. There was somebody who bought like 10 Deathbringers there, like at the GW store, the day of the tournament or whatever, and I'm sure very poorly and minimally painted them to like the minimum color standard. But there were only like 2 or 3 Khorne Army of Renowns. KO was a much bigger problem. Just looking at the placings, first of all, congratulations to Fabian, who played Jeremy for the finals. Jeremy has a video on his channel that you should look up, going over his games, and going over that in a little bit of more depth, and voicing what I also complain about, which is that cities is a little gross and busted right now, which if coming from somebody who plays KO, which also feels a little gross and busted right now. I have certain feelings about that, but also he's not wrong. So yeah, the top 5, Cities, KO, a second Cities, Dylan, of course. And then Caleb somehow, I don't understand. Caleb always is just good at Warhammer and wins lots of games, was in 3rd. And then Walter was playing Feck and was in 5th. And yeah, the rest of that top 8 pod was Sabeti and Victor with Sons of Behemoth, so two sons in the top 8, and then Stormcast Eternals, which really surprised me, and I'm actually going to look at the list real quick. This was... Alright, so it wasn't the 3x6 Reclusions, but it is 2x6 Reclusions, Storm Coven, Night Relictor Vigilers, Stardrake, Quester Soulsworn, and, of course, Callus and Toll. I feel like this had to be either Callus and Toll or... there was either going to be Callus and Toll in here or the KO Regiment, right? It was obvious. So yeah, good on is it Tucker? Yeah, good on Tucker for doing so well with Stormcast, which has not been really happening lately. But yeah, the top of the Gore Chosen Champions list did not make the top 8. Ended up in 9th, but was 4-1 in the first 5 games, but didn't quite make the cut to be in the top 3 4-1s. So there were 5 5-0s and then 3 4-1s. And what did that lose to? Oh, it lost to Jeremy. So it lost to KO. So you can go listen to Jeremy's channel about that game if you're curious. Slanesh did very well. Mike Maccabee. Gavin did very well with Cruel Boys. Another KO. Fred did well with KO. Another Cruel Boys, Matt, did well. Another KO. Wow. 1, 2... I guess it's only 3. So 3 KO in the top 15, 2 cities, 2 sons, and a couple Cruel Boys. So not super shocking. Then we're down to, still people who were basically 4-1 after the first 5, which includes me. I was in 22nd, having done my 5 games. I think they're obviously not just based on the first 5 games, but I don't know exactly how. I don't know exactly why I'm over this person, Rai, who played all 8 games and went 3-0 in pods. I guess this ranking after the top 8, this may be based on the first 5 games, I guess, since I was 4-1 and Rai was 3-2 going into pods. So I guess I was the bottom of the 4-1 pod, would have been in the 4-1 pod, but I didn't play it out. Yeah, anyway, so that's the results. I talked to Fabian just for a few minutes, and His army's kind of Wood Elf themed, which, first of all, I love. Wood Elves, I played Wood Elves for a decade in Fantasy, and they're my first love, my true love. So yeah, his army was very Wood Elf themed, and he made a comment to me, which is hilarious, which was that this is more of a hobby project, which is hilarious coming from somebody running just one of the most broken goddamn lists in the game right now. You know, the broken army with a very effective list, including the goddamn KO Regiment of Renown. But yeah, you know, Battle Mage Command Corps ×2, Marshal ×2, Callus and Toll, another Command Corps, a cannon, the Cav, you know, one of the 10 Cav units, Fusel Major and Zenestra. It's just, you know, a very good filthy list. Obviously played very well. Went 8-0. Good job. As for me, I played the same thing I played at Summer Slaughter. I was just feeling lazy and not like, you know, I didn't feel like thinking super hard. So it was the OBR again. I really, part of it was laziness, but also I really like this list. It's very effective. It does have a couple counters to it. But it's a very, very good list. I don't know if I would go back to playing Catacross from this, honestly. I'm hoping when the balance patch comes, OBR maybe gets a little bit of love. I think they could use a tiny bit of help. Obviously, I went 4-1, but we'll talk about that as I talk about the games. There was some luck involved. There was, you know, 1 asterisk on a game. But yeah, it's basically three little blocks that function very well together, and it does tactics well. I'm gonna try and go through my games a little quicker than I have in the past, and kind of just go over like the key moments and like the overarching takeaways from each game. But I'll just say right now, overarching takeaways for the whole list and the whole event. Like I said, I still love the list. I don't think I would change anything in the models I'm taking. I think I would swap out Attune to Gyran for Intercept and Recover. I generally... Basically, I was at the bottom of the 4-1s going into pods after 5 games because my 4 wins, basically, I was like tabling people but not scoring my tactics very well. So like for Restless Energy, I think I mostly got Restless Energy. Like Restless Energy was a good pick. But my problem with Attune to Gyran was I was pretty much always getting the first step of that, so stand in the middle and not be in combat. You know, often on turn 1, there was a game, let's see, there's a game I got step 1 on turn 3. Turn 1, turn 3, turn 1. And did I ever get it in this game? I must have. Well, I got it at some point in the game. Whatever. Moral of the story is, getting Attune 1 worked out very well. My issue with step 2, which is you need to retreat 2 units and charge 2 units, is, like I said, the games I was winning, I was tending to be like tabling people, and my army is killy enough that like I was killing things too quickly to be able to retreat from them and charge them with 2 more units. So there were a couple games where it was like turn 3 and they only had like 1 or 2 units left on the board or something, right? It was just, like the majority of my games, I kind of got to the point where it was like, I'm winning the game, but I'm never going to get the last 2 steps of Attuned because I can't get step 2 because I've like killed everything. Or like the game I lost, right? Like I got kind of tabled that game rather than doing the tabling. So again, that meant I never was able to get Attuned step 2. So I think my theory was okay on taking Attuned, and it had worked out okay in the past. I probably could have focused a little harder on getting it, rather than like tabling and winning on primary objectives and therefore kind of winning small. But I think because I was killing things so hard, like Intercept was just a very obvious... Intercept would have been a very obvious better take, right? Because my army's very fast and it's very killy. I should have just not ever thought this. I should have taken Intercept and just killed people. The Crawler, when it pops off, holy shit, it pops off. I love this model. I'm never taking this out of my list. It's so good. There were games between Slaughter and this tournament, there were games where like the Crawler definitely like won me the game. Like popped off, killed, an entire unit of squigs or an entire unit of witch elves, and then also, is helping me make things strike last with the counter shoot, or just wiping a unit on the counter shoot. That happened a few times. So yeah, the Crawler is amazing. The Harbingers, charging 3d6 and being that killy is obviously fantastic. Being able to go to Rend 3 or 4 against monsters with the Ossifector buff and their +1 anti-monster rend, phenomenal. And yeah, the Soul Reaper behind the Mortis Guard is just a brick that survived way more than it should have, and part of that was had some very spiky dice on both sides a couple times, which I'll talk about when I talk about game one. Which I should talk about game one. Let's get into the games. Let's see. So game one was on Passing Seasons, and it was against Scott Dielman, who I know, and I've played a few times before. I played him at Nova, I think last year. It was either last year or the year before. I've played Scott at Nova before. Scott was playing Daughters of Cain with the 80-foot elves, 2x20 Witch, 2x20 Sisters of Slaughter, Cauldron, Crethusa, Bloodwreck Shrine, and a couple Shadow Stalkers and High Gladiatrix. I'd never played this version of Daughters of Cain before. I've played against the Snakes. So I was scared of this, and I was like, I had no idea. I was like, I could get run over here, or I could be fine. It's going to be a learning experience. So he was 3-drop. I was 3-drop. I don't remember who won the roll-off, but it ended up with me going first. I don't know. I think I would have taken it, but if I had won, but I think he won and gave it to me. So basically, I ran up. I stood in the center to get my... Let me zoom in a little bit. So I ran up and stood in the center to get attuned. I towed this point, I believe, or either towed this or stayed just off it. I can't quite tell there. I must have towed this point. Yeah, so I towed this point. This is the weird one where you can either score only... So it's corner deployment, corner to corner. And you can either score each battle round only the ones in the deployment zones or only the 2 ones on the flanks, and there's nothing in the middle. So I ran up to get attuned. I went and tagged this point. In retrospect, I don't know, that was a little silly. I don't know exactly why, other than just... Yeah, I don't remember why I did it. But I was kind of just hoping that the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper could survive a unit of Witch Elves going in. I had the Crypt Guard kind of zoning out for Ushiran. And, the other thing is, like, he's a bunch of squishy bodies, and I have 2 sources of Strike Last. So I just kind of set up here, figuring I could Strike Last the Witch Elves and just murder a bunch back before he got to strike if he went in. I have a potential countercharge with the Morghasts. That was the thought behind this setup. I believe... Oh my god, I'm not going to remember which turn it was, but it was either... I think it must have been turn 1, right? So my turn 1, I shot the catapult into the sisters. I think I may have also gotten... Yeah, so I had the Shrieker, but not in range. Anyway, the Catapult killed like 17 Witch Elves or something. Turn 1. Like something ridiculous in this front unit. So the front unit that he was probably going to buff up and throw at me first just evaporated to the Catapult. So he ended up moving... Again, I don't know why I put the Morbegs there. I think I just wanted to put pressure on him to go take it back. It was stupid. But he went and killed them with the unit that was over there. And because, you know, I think this is the lone Witch Elf that lived that turn. So maybe I killed 19 Witch Elves. I don't know. It was a ton. But he didn't throw himself into the center that turn. He kind of shifted over to this flank to kind of hold, you know, work on holding the 2 flank objectives. So turn 1, he got Restless Energy 1 because he took this back from me, and Scouting Force 1 for 15. I'd just gotten 10 because I had my back point and took the center for attuned. So this is the big crux of this round. Was I won the prio for turn 2, but I gave it to him, thinking since he was like way back here on his backfield, I was like, you're kind of too far away to do much to me. You know, I have -2 to charge in the aura from the Soul Reaper. I could redeploy away a little bit. It ended up working out, but I think it was potentially a mistake that the dice saved me from, basically. I was thinking he wouldn't have much to do on this double turn, and then if I got the double back, that would be good for me. So it ended up working out. I'm still not sure about the theory. Since I gave him the double, like, this unit was all buffed up, so I was like, the buffs are going to fall off this unit. So if they go into the Crypt Guard and Usharon, like, I'll just make them strike last, I'll kill a bunch, they're not going to do anything. But what ended up happening was he fully buffed up the unit back here, and he didn't get the 6-inch move in his hero phase off, but he did get run and charge. And I always forget that when you have run and charge, you can auto run 6. So basically, they moved up 12. I forget the Daughters of Cain traits, but he might have had +1 to charge at this point. So he did, basically, he got all the buffs off. He got them in. He charged the Immortus Guard and popped the double fight, right? And by all rights, like, the Immortus... I haven't done the exact... I haven't done the math on it. The Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper should have evaporated that turn, right? This should have been a mistake. But what actually happened was the dice went a little bonkers. The -1 to wound helps immensely from the Soul Reaper. I think he put everything into the Immortus Guard. I don't think he split there. But whatever happened, he killed like 1 Immortus Guard. Maybe 2. I think he killed 1. And then I got to strike after that. By the way, he had moved this guy such that it was going to be the closest target, I think. So he didn't get strike lasted on them. Because I couldn't counter shoot the buffed up unit. But yeah, he went and just completely whiffed. I made a bunch of saves, like he missed a lot. It all amounted to he killed 1 Immortus Guard. And then I fought back and I killed like 10 or 12 of the Witch Elves, maybe 13. I don't know. I killed enough that then on the double fight, I think he then split attacks to try and get the Soul Reaper, and he ended up not getting either. So, like, he went in with the big buffed unit of Witch Elves, and he killed, like, 2 Immortus Guard. And at that point, it was like, alright, like, he's probably fucked. So that was the big crux of the game, was that happening. Because then at that point, like, he's basically down 40 of his 80 Witch Elves, and it's my turn. So the Morghasts went up, and I think they tagged at this point and also killed this unit, essentially, and wiped them. And whatever happened to these guys, whether it was Catapult or, like, Usharon, I basically cleared up that side of the board as well. And I brought the Morbegs back, kind of down in my corner. So then I got the double back, which really put the nail in the coffin because the Morghasts were able to get into Cthulhu back here, who was going to... Cthulhu can bring back units at half strength, I believe. So basically, I was able to clear all 4 units of Witch Elves and then pop Cthulhu before she could bring anybody back. Which just, that put the nail in the coffin. So yeah, in his double turn, he also didn't get a tactic, so he only got 5 points. He didn't get a tactic because he just didn't get a tactic. He could have, theoretically, because I made him take the double. So it's not like he took the double and he couldn't get a tactic. This was the game I got the second level of attuned, because I was able to retreat like the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper out and charge back in. I charged 2 other things, but with OBR retreat and charge, they could also go back in and fight that turn. In my double, I got 10 because I held the 2 side points, or whatever I needed. And the other thing, so I will say the one other thing, other than like the horrible luck with the Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter, whatever it was, the fully buffed unit like bouncing off the Immortus Guard. The other thing was when we were rolling for we were rolling stuff in this combat. I think I had split some attacks into the Cauldron. So I killed Cthulhu and I split some into the Cauldron, and I think he has... I think when he rolls 6s to save, or like I roll 1s to hits, he like bounces mortals. Oh no, that's not what we forgot. What we forgot was, and this was completely my fault, and I feel bad and shitty about it. We forgot that the Morghast had all-out attack to make sure they got Cthulhu. So when the Cauldron attacked back, we forgot that they were at an extra -1 to save because they had all-out attacked. So we kind of realized that after all the dice were rolled, and it was a little bit too late to go back, and I was just like, he's like, he was very right to be a little upset, because like he's got those 3 damage attacks. He's got a bunch of attacks. Like he could have done some more. We didn't remember exactly. So I was like, I'll just say an extra 3 damage attack got through. I rolled wards. I failed them all. I'm like, cool. Like 3 more damage. I felt that was an okay compromise, but like we didn't really know how many more wounds they should have taken at that point. And even though at the time I was like, extra 3 damage attack goes through, whatever, I'll make, those wards and give you some more damage. I thought that was a reasonable compromise at the time. Basically the Morghast ended up living on 1 wound after that, where like any extra damage that had gone through at that point would have mattered because the Morghast would have been dead. The game was basically over at that point, but that 1 Morghast killed the Cauldron. So we would have had a turn where he like also had the Cauldron alive, in addition to like the 1 or 2 other things he had left on the board, which were like, I think 1 Eater Shadow Stalkers and I guess this other thing here. So like it wouldn't have changed the outcome, but like it was a little bit of a feels bad moment that like I did mess up for getting the head 1 less save. He didn't remember either until afterwards, and then it mattered because they survived on 1 wound and they killed the thing. But it ended up 65-30 me. Like I said, at this point his 80 Witch Elves are gone. These are about to die. These are about to die. Whether or not the Morghast killed them then, they are standing in front of a Catapult, a Neutron, and a Immortus Guard, and like he could have pulled out some more points, but like it probably wasn't going to change the game. So sorry again about that, Scott. I will never forget that again. I said this at the tournament, but I was like, I've played enough games in the new GHB, like I should have those rules in my head, even though they're a change from last GHB, and I felt very bad. But it's always a pleasure to play Scott. So yeah, this was basically after the point I was talking about. This was the board state. He would have had the Cauldron here on like a couple wounds left probably, and as you can see, like it probably wouldn't have changed the game outcome, but it was still a little bit of a feel bad. So game 2, this is not one of my games. I saw that my friend Nick was winning and took a picture. Game 2 was against Cities. That is not the right list. I just closed the wrong list. There we go. Was against Graham with filthy Cities. So Talia Vedra, which is an off-meta pick, but Cities are kind of gross enough it doesn't matter that if you take one off-meta pick, I don't think, and you play them well. So Talia, 3 cannons and the Warhawk, Pontifex Zenestra, Callus and Toll, Marshal with Relic Envoy, 10 Cavaliers, Command Corps, Warforger, and 2x10 Steel Helms. So yeah, not the like maximized most filthy list you can take with Cities, but Graham played it very well, and it still felt extraordinarily strong in his hands. So this game started off with just complete fuck up by me. He's 5 drops, and for some reason my wires just got completely crossed, and I was like, oh, he's got more drops than me, so he's gonna get to pick whether to go first or second, which is obviously the complete opposite of how it actually works. So he was kind of castled up in the corner, and I kind of deployed my Morghast and Usharan hedging a little bit for if he took first to not just eat a bunch of cannon shots and like die first turn to a cannon randomly with Usharan. But obviously I had the choice of whether to take first or second. So I ended up taking first, and I just kind of sent it with the Morghasts and the Morbegs, and it may have ended up working. So spoiler, it didn't end up working. But it may have ended up working if I had also sent in Usharan. If I deployed him at the edge of my zone, I could have gotten Usharan in as well, and maybe that would have been enough to kind of break things in my favor. There was still plenty that could have gone wrong, but I was just like, wow, I'm an idiot. Like I completely reversed in my head who was gonna get to pick to go first. It happens. We are not always perfect. But yeah, so the moral of the story is I threw Morghasts and Morbegs into his command corps was in his front line turn 1. There were steel helms over here holding this point, and the catapult shot them off turn 1. And oh my god, how our command corps 140 fucking points. It took all of the attacks from both a Morghast unit and the Morbeg Knights to kill the command corps turn 1. Like I put everything from the Morghasts into them, which is one of the killiest units of the game probably, and there were like 5 command corps wounds still left there. Like the Morghasts like didn't really, they got close to doing it, but like holy shit, like the command corps, like 140 point unit ate everything from like 700 points of my army and like barely died. Like I didn't get super lucky to get them with the Morbegs after that, but like I did put everything from the Morbegs in there to finish off the command corps, and like I may have killed them to the wound. I don't remember exactly, but like it was close. Like the command corps almost lived through 4 Morghasts and 3 Morbeg Knights, which is disgusting for 140 points. Like just wild shit. So yeah, the moral, the summary of this game is that I sent them in, and he was able to fight out, essentially. So we kind of fought here for a bit. Callus and Toll came in my backline, so instead of getting Usharan in the big brawl in his deployment zone, like I had Usharan go kill Callus and Toll and friends. And I kind of thought that like with him pinned in his backfield here, I hoped I was going to be able to keep him pinned back there for long enough that I could outscore, even if he eventually fought out, and he ended up fighting out way too quickly. So I ended up basically then getting tabled. Like Usharan had to stay back here and deal with Callus and Toll because I didn't really have anything else to deal with him. I had to go I needed to send something over to tag this. I think I sent the Alpha Effector, and the Immortus Guard were kind of coming in for round 2 of the second wave of trying to keep him pinned back here. And I just, I couldn't do it. I did get Callus and Toll with Usharan. I don't have another picture. So, I did get them with Usharan, but then Usharan got blown up with, cannons or something after he finished fighting out of here. And by turn 4, I was, basically tabled. I might have had the Catapult and the Os Effector left, and he was, about to go kill them. And so turn 1, I got, I went to the middle, I got a tuned 1. I got 13 points. He got 8. Turn 2, we both got 8, so neither of us got any tactics. Because again, I was just hoping I had him pinned here and would outscore in primaries. Turn 3, he got Master 1 and Restless 1 and got 20. And that point, I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. This is not going well. I got Restless 1 that turn. So it went... He also got the double turn 1 into turn 2, which also helped him a good bit fight out. Oh, actually, no. I think Talia actually ended up killing... Talia might have ended up killing Usharan. I don't recall. But yeah. Talia ended up being a very good piece in this list, because even if I had... I couldn't really throw Usharan in over here, because she could strike last Usharan, which felt bad. So she had a little... she was actually good into me for a little anti-monster attack against Usharan. But yeah, then after turn 3, I maybe I could have done something if I got the 2-3 double back, but I didn't. So he got the 1-2 double, and then it just stayed same priority order the rest of the game. So turn 4, he got Restless 2 for 15. I got 0 at that point, and then he got Masters the Path 2 for 15 to my 0. So it ended up being 66-34 for him. And I was like, cool. I'm boot. I'm 1-1 at this point. I was like, I'm not in the 5-0 chunk of people. Great. Hopefully I'm not going to play KO or Cities next round. And of course I played another Cities next round. So I played Jake, who I hadn't played, but is also a Baltimore local. So I had seen his army at an RTT in Baltimore. So the lucky thing for me is for this was no shade to Jake, but Jake is much newer, very very new to AOS. So definitely could have played the list a little bit better. The list also not a bad list, but could have been a little stronger. He's only got 1 command core. Graham only had 1 command core as well. But yeah, just didn't quite play the list right, I would say. And was also maybe a little drunk, which didn't help for game 3. So this game, I was much more able to pick my fights a little better and deal with everything. He was very much... I think the comment I would say strategically is he was very focused on I'm going to use the little foot guys to screen, and then I need to charge with the cav. And he, as you can see, the cannons were kind of over here to start the game, which was maybe a little odd. Could have had the cannons behind. And what I would say is 30 wounds of the 3-up save cav is tanky enough that you can use one of the 10 units of cav as actually a screen, and you can always pull it back out with Zenestra and then charge in, right? So probably played a little cagier with the knight units than you could have, which kind of let me deal with the other stuff and then kind of pick the army apart a little bit. I was a little lucky a few times to What did happen? What did I get lucky on? I was able to get into the cannons. The catapult just catapult almost wiped the unit of 20 steel helms again, right? My list loves facing infantry with the catapult, and like the Morghast will shred it. Ushiran, bunch of control one things. I need 2-ups to make it strike last. Like I'm very, very good into infantry. So it was also just, you know, being a little more infantry focused. It was a better list for me to match into than Graham's list. But yeah, the catapult kind of exploded the steel helms. These guys I deployed back here. Yeah, that was the thing that was a little lucky, I think, was I deployed back with the Morbegs to avoid the cannons turn 1, and then you know, I moved up 12 and I kind of made a bit of a long bomb charge onto these steel helms here to clear them very early with the Morbegs. So I made like I had +1 from Ushiran, but I made a pretty long charge there to clear them, was kind of the lucky thing that happened. So he went first. We both got 8 turn 1 with no tactics. I got the double 1 into 2, so that also helped. Yes, he's coming from 40k, and he was very sad about the double turn, where because I was able to clear his screen of his 20 steel helms turn 1 basically with the catapult, the double, he was not set up to absorb the double, I guess is what I would say, and he also wasn't able to pull like the cannons back because he was trying to like, I think, reshuffle things around when I got the double with the counter prey to like save Zenestra or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I got the double. I was able to get into Zenestra with the Morghasts and just like completely exploded her into a bloody mist. I was like, I'm not even going to split attacks. There was other things I could have attacked there, but I was like, I'm putting all of the attacks into Zenestra. And of course, it was like the biggest overkill of any overkill that has ever happened. I did like 30 wounds to Zenestra. And it ended up working out fine. But, you know, Zenestra is like the big tech piece in the army. So, like, at that point, I had also kind of tagged the... I was also able to, like, tag the cannons with the Morbeg Knights. And without Zenestra, you could pull them out of combat. So I was able to... You know, and then at that point, like, this flank has collapsed. Zenestra's dead. So the tech is dead. So he's kind of just got the cav left. And he's kind of pinned in back there. And I'm just going to grind him down because I can make him strike last. And then just eat 8 cav a turn with Ushiran and the Morghasts. So he did get Restless 1 on his turn 2 and got 10 points. He either got the double back or I made him take the double when I won. I think he got it back and chose to take it, but couldn't do enough at that point. So he got 8 back. I got attuned 1 turn 3, actually. That was my late attuned 1 in the center. So I think I used the catapult and the Ausvector to take the center at that point because things were fighting past the center. So I got 15. Turn 4, he still got 8. So he was actually like, he was playing it out well and fighting well and still getting points. So it's not like he was like immediately tabled and just like getting 0 points. So props, Jake, for playing it out and like getting the points that you could get. My turn 4, I got Restless 1 for 15, so I finally got Restless 1. His turn 5, he got 5 points, I think, because he still held this back point with his cav potentially. And then I got Restless 2 for 15, so it ended up being 61 to 39. So again, just continuing the trend of small wins. So I got, my wins were 65 and 61 at that point, which is not really getting you into the top of the 4-1 bracket. All right, so I had some more pictures from this. So yeah, you can see turn 1, I killed 19 steel helms with a catapult shot. It's just gross when it pops off. And I sent the what happened? Whatever. You can see that I killed the Fusiliers here. I don't remember if the Crypt Guard just popped off and killed them. I think the Shrieker might have killed a couple in shooting, but regardless, I kind of went in with the Crypt Guard. Usharan was back here. You know, I was gonna like redeploy them back if I needed to get back into strike last range from Usharan. But I think maybe I was thinking I just didn't care. I think these were just supposed to be a speed bump for the Cav. If he got the turn, he could go into the Cav, but like not really get anything into Usharan. And if he did get something, you know, if he got 2 models into Usharan, he was just getting strike lasted, and it wasn't going to accomplish killing Usharan probably. And then the Morghasts are there too, and I have the -1 to ward thing up potentially. So yeah, and you can see on this flank the Morbegs made that long charge onto the Steel Helms. So with the double, then they were just able to go in and tag all of the cannons, basically. And yeah, this is the turn. So he did, right, instead of pulling the cannons out, he basically put like the command core in front of Zenestra and put the knights over here to go deal with the Morbeg knights. I don't know if that was the right choice versus like pulling 2 cannons back here with Zenestra to be able to shoot. It probably didn't matter because like you can see the Morghasts got into Zenestra anyway. So there was room. He kind of curved the command core around Zenestra to use this terrain and the command core to zone everything out. But the catapult shot the command core and killed like enough models to open up space for the Morghasts to get in past them. So that was the turn that I went in, and like I could have split attacks into the hero over here, but I put everything into Zenestra with Morghast, and I got her. And the knights, you know, these knights were not going to kill Usharan. Usharan killed a bunch of knights before they got to strike. The Immortus Guard had gotten in at that point. Everything was going pear-shaped for him at this point. Yeah, I think that's the last pick I had from that. So that closed out that game. Well played. Ryan Byrne was game 4 with Deepkin. That was on Roiling Roots. He had... I didn't really go over Jake's list, did I? Let me pull that up again real quick. It was Zenestra, Marshal of Envoy, 10 Fusiliers, 20 Steel Helms, 10 Steel Helms. You kind of saw this from the pictures. Ogre Warhawk and the 3 cannons. Cavalier Marshal, Command Corps, and then 2x10 Cavaliers. So it was different in the grams. Ryan's list was another... I was getting a little blessed by the Warhammer gods with these matchups. So I got to face another gang of 70 plus elves on foot and just go to town killing infantry. Better down where it's wetter. I had Neth Deepkin. So this was basically all infantry, the dream for me. So it was a Thrallmaster, 3x10 Thralls, Lotan, 2x10 Reavers, an Achillean King, and an Icon with 2 more by 10 Thralls, and then a Soul Render, and 2 more by 10 Thralls. So I think it was 70 Thralls and 20 Reavers, and Gotrek. I was very nervous about Gotrek. I did not realize he's gotten a little bit of a nerf. So he wasn't as scary as I expected, but also I got very lucky to pop him early in the game. So this is not early in the game. This is like midway through. But basically the crux of that was that, let's see, he went first. He got Scouting 1 for 12 points. Then I went and got Attune 1 for 10 points. And the big thing that happened was he had like 2 units of, let's see, it was like over here. So I'm starting over here. He basically had 2 units of Thralls standing in front of Gotrek. And I was like, I don't know how to deal with Gotrek, but like I know he's slow. In this list he could charge 3d6 was kind of the only trick. But I threw the 3 Morbeg Knights into the 2 units of Thralls in front of him. Just kind of thinking like, I don't think the Thralls will kill the Morbegs. They're tougher than people think. Like, I can kill some thralls first. You know, I'm going to strike first. I'll kill some thralls. And then, like, Gotrek will kind of be stuck behind his line of thralls. It was kind of a silly plan. But he ended up countercharging Gotrek, and he, like, made it... He rolled enough to make it around the thralls and get into the Morbeg Knights. And I had gotten the... I'd gotten the Bone Tithe Shrieker up behind this terrain, and he was, like, just barely within 12 of the Shrieker with Gotrek. So he goes in with Gotrek, and I'm like... I don't know, this is a chance to, like, put some damage into Gotrek, I guess. So, like, I guess I'll put everything from the Morbeg Knights into Gotrek. And I rolled the Riders, and the Riders got 5 wounds through of 8 on a Gotrek, which was just insane. Like, crazy dice. He's got a 4-up ward. He's only got a 5-up save. So, like, he's on a 6-up save, and then he's got a 4-up ward because of the Shrieker. But, like, neither of us were expecting him to almost die just to the Riders. So then I go to roll, you know... We're like, oh shit, like, I'm like, oh shit, the mounts might just kill him. Yeah, I only need to do 3. And then the mounts completely whiff. So kind of evened out the luck from the Riders, but like, I don't think either of us had really done the math to think that he's going to throw Gotrek in and then maybe just eat it to the Morbeg Knights. So at that point, I'm like, okay, Gotrek has 5 wounds on him. He's suddenly not scary, right? I can do 5. I can do 3 more wounds to Gotrek. But his turn, and that was the other thing. He totally, completely whiffed with Gotrek and didn't kill the Morbeg Knights back. So I'm like, I'm like, great. This is gravy. Like, Gotrek is stuck in his turn 1, still fighting the Morbeg Knights. So he's not going in to, like, kill Usharon or something stupid, right? At that point, he couldn't have. He had too many wounds. But at that point, those Reavers, 2 units of Reavers and Gotrek are still fighting the Morbeg Knights in his turn 1, which was just absolutely wild. We were kind of pussyfooting around on this side a little bit. Like, I didn't commit over here because I was scared of the Morghasts dying. But he did send a unit over here to take that point, and like, I did end up sending the Morghasts over to kill them and take that point back that turn. And then so it's me, his turn, he cleared the Morbegs with Gotrek and them. So then in my turn, he did rally Gotrek, and he only got 1 wound back on 6 dice, right? He should have gotten 3. This is just the tale of the unluckiest Gotrek. So he'd eaten 5 from the Morbeg Knights. He did not kill the Morbeg Knights back. Crazy. I don't think he double fought because I think he didn't think he needed to double fight that turn because it's a command point, and maybe that's part of why they lived. They shouldn't have lived on average anyway. But so he clears them in his turn. My turn, he rallies. He only rallies back 1, so Gotrek has 4 wounds left. But I've got an opening to go into Gotrek with Usharon, and I'm like, I think I just take it. Like, I think I just got to do it. Like, this is my chance to pop him. Usharon's a beast. Like, he should be able to do it. He had banished the Shrieker at that point, so he was going to be on a 3-up save, which is very scary. But I went in with Usharon. I thought, for a moment, I thought about splitting attacks, which would have been a massive mistake, because I put everything into Gotrek from Usharon, and I killed him to the wound. So, like, if he had rallied 1 more wound, you know, on average, you rally 3. If he had rallied 2 instead of 1, Gotrek would have lived through Usharon. But I killed him to the wound, which was so sweaty. Oh my god. And then at that point, like, you can see the Immortus Guard were kind of stuck in. The Catapult was just shredding bodies. The Catapult killed a ton of Reavers that game. Or not Reavers, Thralls. So the Catapult was just shredding units, right? And the Morghasts were alive to come in and, you know, help clean things up. So basically, turn 3, I had tabled him. You can also see, like, the Morbegs got way back here, and he, like, something happened. He failed some other roll to get, like, the Soul Reaper out. I forget if he has a teleport or something. I think he might have failed the teleport spell. But, like, the Morbegs killed one of the Soul Renders back here. His king had been fighting his king had gone into his king. I believe the king went to kill the Shrieker, so maybe he didn't unbind it. Maybe he actually just killed it with the king, and I like countercharged with the ghouls or something. I don't know. The Crypt Guard were fighting the king, and then I think the catapult just launched into the king's face and barely killed him, like to the wound. There were a couple things where like I killed something just like to the wound, barely got it, and made like a big difference. So Gotrek, the king, were the two big ones. And then at that point, he's got a bunch of foot elves that like don't scare me, right? Because like Usharan's just making them all strike last and is just picking up units at a time himself. The catapult is just picking up a unit every turn, basically. Nothing's gonna outfight the Immortus Guard with -1 to wounds. They're wounding on like 5s. So yeah, it was pretty academic after I picked up like Gotrek and the king. He got the new incarnate. Sorry, he got the new like water incarnate out as well. That I think the Morghast just killed when it came out, and it didn't really get to do anything. So yeah, basically he got Scout and got 12 points turn 1. He got 5 turn 2. He got 10 turn 3. But I had gotten Attuned 1. Turn 2 I got Restless 1 for 15. Then I got Restless 2 for 15 turn 3. And then I never took, I don't think, this point in his backfield. There was some reason I never got Restless 3, but I got 15 turn 4, or maybe that, never mind. I probably got Restless 3 turn 4, and I just didn't write it down because I got 15 points. And then I got 10 turn 5 because, again, this was a game where all of his dudes were dead. So like I couldn't do Attuned 2. Like it just didn't work out, so that Attuned was a good call. So I won 65 to 27. Again, not hitting like the 80s. I'm not hitting 75, 80, right? I'm getting 65 on all of these. Last game, yeah, this was later in the game. He was trying to make something happen with the thralls he had left in the middle here, but this was just like, this is like the catapult shoots here, maybe even a counter shoot, and just wipes these. The Morghasts are charging in and killing these. Like, there's just nothing he can get done with what he has left at this point. You can see the Morbegs and Usharan had kind of cleared things over here. The Immortus Guard are cleaning up. Yeah, it was just, he was in a bad spot. I took a selfie. Hi, this is me at Nova. You can see there's a ton of people playing Warhammer. It's a beautiful thing. Fred's in the background. He has no shoes on. He's wearing socks. Whatever. Yeah, sorry to zoom in on my face. I was trying to look at the people in the background. But that's Nova. It's a ton of people. And this is like half of this hall you can see in this picture. In front of me is all of the, I think there's like Star Wars Shatterpoint or something going on. There's the Middle-earth strategy battle game going on in front of me. So this is like just half of this hall. There's side rooms where like Trench Crusade and MCP and stuff are happening. MCP might have been in the basement. 40K is its own hall that's even bigger than this. Like, it's a huge, huge event. I should talk about my last game first, but this was after dropping, after Game 5 with my friend Jake. Let me talk about Game 5 before I get to that. So Game 5 was against Harry, who is a Maryland local, who I've played before as well. Almost always plays Seraphon, so I was not surprised to see that. He had a Slan, 2x6 Agrodon Lancers, and 3 Agrodon Lancers. He plays very Agrodon heavy. The Scarvet on Agrodon, a Bastillodon with Arc of Sotek, and then 2 units of Hunters, 1 with Pipes, 1 with Bolas. This is the game that has a big asterisk on it. We were playing Noxious Nexus, and neither of us realized until Ted. Oh, by the way, I meant to shout out. Ted and Zach were the TOs. Did a great job. And then this is not fully accurate because Fabian and James were both playing in the tournament. But I know Jacob and Jordan were both helping judge. So thanks. I'm going to pause this. All right, I think the exciting sirens are mostly gone. I'm sure you could probably hear all of that. Sorry, what I was saying was thank you to the organizers. Ted did a great job. Zach, I don't think I ran into you, but good job. And thanks to the judges, Jordan and Jacob. It was a well-run tournament, as far as I could see. But back to the story. Ted was, Ted knows Harry and I very well. So he was like, I'm going to sit and watch a lot of this game. So he was sitting watching a lot of the game. And at bottom of 2, at that point he had come over to watch. And we're counting up our points. Harry went first. I went second. And we're counting up our points, and Ted is like, you can't score the primary objectives, battle round 1, in this battle plan. So we were like, oh, shit. You're right. I guess we both got 0 points turn 1 instead of what we thought, which was, we thought Harry had 15 for getting Wrath 1 for having more than I did, but you can't control points round 1, so we both got 0. And, it was unfortunate because like Harry probably would have done some things differently if we'd realized that, right? Like he took top of 1 to get Wrathful 1 by outcounting me, kind of hold the center, get his battle line set up a little bit, whatever. And of course then it was like, oh, actually we just both got 0 points. You went up here for nothing. There were no points to get. Whoopsie. So that kind of sucked. But at that point we're like an hour into the game, because turn 1 always takes the longest. So we couldn't really like undo it and re-rack or something. So we just had to play it out. So we both got 0 turn 1. And basically he moved up with like Bastiladon 3 Agrodons, 6 Agrodons. I could draw. I didn't really want to draw today. I'll just describe it. And he put up the Prismatic Palisade in front of his 6 Agrodons, spaced so that it was like kind of hard to get there. I went up turn 1 into the center with the Immortus Guard and the Soul Reaper. I still had room to get in there, essentially to take Attuned and get, I thought 15 points at that point, but 5 points it turns out. And actually, I thought I was maybe going to get 20 that turn because it could have been Restless Energy and Attuned. But he ended up countercharging with the 6 Agrodon, so he kind of he made a high enough roll to get. It was kind of tricky with the way the Palisade was there, but he made a big enough roll to like cram in between me and the Palisade. Like I kind of left enough room to fit an Agrodon there, and then he kind of had to go around it to stay coherent, and it worked out. But he didn't wipe the Mortis Guard or anything. In addition to the catapult, one of the stories of this tournament is the Immortus Guard with the Soul Reaper -1 wound is just a brick, and very killy things went into them and just like bounced multiple times this tournament. So the 6 Agrodons countercharged in, and they like killed. Again, they killed 1 or 2 Immortus Guard and maybe did a couple wounds to the Soul Reaper, but didn't kill him. And I killed 2. I think I killed 2 Agrodons back that turn. Because... No. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I did a little damage back. He maybe killed like 1 Immortus Guard. He might not have even killed anything because he didn't have everybody fighting. He only had like 2 units fighting, or 4 guys fighting. Sorry. But yeah. So his turn. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Oh my god. Sorry. He had also in his turn 1. Sorry, he had deployed both of the hunters out of reserve. He put 1 on the 3rd point to my right, and he put 1 very close to me, just 9 inches away from like the catapult, which I had on the flank. I don't know exactly what the plan was there, but I countershot with the catapult, and I wiped those 5 hunters that were right next to me, right? So I immediately, I killed 1 unit of hunters, great. That's a win. The other thing I had done in my turn was I went in with the Morghasts into the 3 Agrodons and the Bastiladon. I'm Ren 4 at this point because I've rolled my 3 up from the Ossifector against the Bastiladon. I should have split attacks, but just like with Sinestra, I was like, I just want to make sure the Bastiladon dies. So I put everything into the Bastiladon, and again, I did like 30 wounds to the Bastiladon. Like, I got about half my attacks in there and half into the Agrodons, and just wiped the Agrodons that turn as well, the 3 in the small unit. But I was like, I just want to make sure the Bastiladon dies. I don't want it to randomly do a bunch of mortals to me. I killed that. The funny thing, I keep forgetting things, sorry. The other funny thing that happened before that was I got Usharon's War Scroll spell off onto the Bastiladon. I made it attack the Scarvet, and it killed the Scarvet. It rolled hot. You know, it rolled 3 mortals, and then even with like 5s to wound or whatever it is, it got enough through, and the Scarvet just like flubbed. I think the Scarvet failed all 4 of its saves. Like, I think I did the wounds I needed to kill it. I did 4 wounds, and he failed all of his saves. And so the Scarvet randomly died to the Bastiladon from Usharon's cast, and then the Bastiladon got eaten by the Morghasts. So at this point, like, he's stuck in with the 1 unit of 6. The other unit of 6, he was, like, hiding in his woods in his deployment zone. So he picked the side that had woods in it to hide from the catapult, but I was a little confused by the choice to keep the unit of 6 back in the woods, because like I have like the whole rest of his army to shoot with the catapult, so like there was really no point to hiding them back in the woods where they were, I don't think, at least in terms of like thinking about the catapult. Like, sure, keep a unit back, sure, to like counterpunch, I guess. The Bastiladon maybe thought the Bastiladon and the 3 could like eat a charge, and then he would counterpunch with that. But it ended up basically the entire rest of his army died, and then he had these lancers sitting back in his woods because I got the 1-2 double. So in addition to neither of us scored points, and he was like out of position thinking he was going to score because we messed up the battle plan, then I got the double, so I could really take advantage of the fact that he had kind of played a little too aggressive. So the dice in this game were just insane in my favor. Basically, I got the Morvegs into the other unit of hunters that were on the rightmost point, and then Usharon and the Crypt Guard went into the 3 Agrodons that I had not targeted the previous turn because I just focused on the Bastiladon. So it was Usharon, Crypt Guard, the Morvegs in combat with the 3 Agrodons. He did kill. He killed a couple of the Morghasts. But the fight in the middle, at this point there's 4... Yeah, so I must have killed 2 Agrodons in my turn who had countercharged the 6. My turn, I'm like, alright, there's 4 Agrodons there. I want to shoot it with the catapult, make sure it strikes last, so then the Mortis Guard can fight first. The Morghasts were like going to get to fight. You know, all sorts of other good things were going to happen. I was basically like, I'll be able to fight down those Agrodons if I get the strike last off with the catapult. Like, I'll do some wounds with the catapult, I'll get strike last, I'll kill them. What happened instead was, I shoot the catapult, I rolled 3 6s and a 5 to hit, so I got 7 hits with the catapult. I wounded with every one, and I did, like, 27 wounds to the Agrodons. He saved, like, 7 of them, and I just wiped the 4 Agrodons that were there, just outright with the catapult shot, which was insane. Like, when you spike the crit rolls to hit with the fucking catapult, like, it gets crazy with the D3 plus 2 wounds per shot. Oh my god. So that basically ended the game right there, because then in the charge phase, the Immortus Guard who had been engaged were able to charge over the palisade into the Realm Shaper engine and like barely tagged the Slan that were sitting. Like the Slan was sitting a good few inches, like 5 or 6 inches behind the Aggrodons, but like I rolled a big charge roll with the Immortus Guard and just got into the Slan and was able to pile in and get like 3 or 4 Mortis Guard into the Slan and just popped it that turn. So the end of my double turn, he basically had 1 unit of 6 Aggrodons left, and it was real bad. And it was like, all right, how much can you kill with 6 Aggrodons? And the answer was, he killed the Morghasts, and he killed Usharon and the Crypt Guard, but like, he had 1 unit left, like, catapults were shooting it, like, things were, like, he was getting through my stuff, but like, 4 of those died, and he was also just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I have 1 unit left, I just want to go see if I can kill Usharon and whatever, but like, he was basically like, you have the game, let me see what I can kill with 6 Aggrodons for a turn. It was a good bit, but like, he had 1 unit left, I had, at least half my army. So the game was basically over at that point. So it was 70-15 to me. Again, that one was a big asterisk because we played the first turn completely wrong because we misunderstood the battle plan. I'm sure we were not the only ones who did not fully read that and didn't realize that you couldn't score. It's not even that you couldn't score the objectives turn 1. You couldn't even control them, so that messes with battle tactics. So yeah. Sorry about that, Harry. Sorry for doing 27 wounds to Aggrodons with a catapult. Again, it was I did 19, but it was absurd. I killed the 4 that were left. There were 19 wounds there, and I just wiped them. And it was gross. Catapult's good. I don't think you need more than 1. I think 1 is good. So then after game 5, I was 4-1, and Ted kept trying to convince me that I should play it out, because he was like, your painting is good enough that like if you go 3-0 in brackets and be at the top of the 4-1 like bracket, you have a chance for overall, yada yada yada, which was true, but I was already exhausted from playing 5 games. Jake was trying very hard to convince me that I should go out in DC and drink on a rooftop bar because the weather was gorgeous. He was absolutely right. So I made the call to drop after 5. We went and drank in DC and met up with more friends, and it was a lovely evening. And I did go back Saturday night to put my army up briefly for the showcase, despite the fact that I didn't really think it deserved to be in the showcase, but whatever. I wasn't going to argue. But I got some pictures of some of the much prettier showcase armies, so I will show them real quick. This was a nice Soulblight army, so this must be a Vordry conversion. Nick's army you've seen before on this channel. Jason's, one of the locals in Maryland, one of the Knights of the Pond. Very nice Nurgle army. I didn't get the name tag for this, really. Jonathan, looks like, maybe? But again, a nice Stormcast army. A cool Nurgle army with a nunchuck-wielding Great Unclean one, which is great. And then this was the army that won Best Painted. Just a very, very nice Stormcast army. Great bases, good non-metallic metal, good colors, just very, very well executed. Beautiful bases, honestly. I'm very jealous of these bases. And I didn't realize until just now, actually looking at this, that the outline of this thing here, this is the Stormreach portal, is this little thematic thing fitting in with the theme of the army. And I can only assume he painted this backdrop himself. So well-deserved win on Best Painted there. Yeah, the resolution on this picture isn't great, but like you can see the weapons are very nice, clean looking. The NMM is very clean and on point through the whole army, just very solid. I know Martin Orlando and Anthony Trentinelli were like right behind this army, and then Nick Jackson was right behind that, like 1 point probably separating them, right? Cool Corn army, Matt Beasley Zinch. And I think that's it. Oh, that is from later Saturday. Just evidence of, you know, gamer friends, fun happening, good times. And last but not least, I did get a finalist pin for my Capital Palette entry, which I was super happy about. So great weekend overall. Nova is fun. My voice is dying. It's been too long. It's been over an hour. I did not summarize my games like I thought, but thank you for listening. See you again soon.